Now, we all have possessions we simply just can't bear to throw away, but up to 5% of people in Australia could have a very serious problem with hoarding.
Dr. Chris Mogan is one of the leading clinicians in treating compulsive hoarding in Australia. He wants the compulsion recognised as a clinical condition, and he joins us now from Sydney. Good morning. Why does this need to have an actual definition clinically?
Well, in order to be considered a disorder in its own right, and that way we can attract research, we can train clinicians, and there's a lot of suffering resulting from the fact that hoarding disorder is not recognised.
So who's most likely to be a hoarder?
Well, it does run in families, it seems. It seems that also people may hoard who have got kind of developmental or attachment issues, so their relationships with people are affected, so that they find that they express themselves more through their things. It's something like a severe over-attachment to things, which is very difficult for the non-hoarder to understand, but the possessions become part of them.
So is this something that affects older people more?
Well, it does manifest itself in the older age group, but it's a chronic condition that starts at a very young age. It can start in as young as 10 and 12 and gets worse, during the 20s, but most people don't get treated until they're over 50. But it's a chronic and ongoing condition.
Can you just take us through some of the more extreme situations that you've been presented with?
Well, the very first time I came across hoarding, I was treating a person for another condition. It was an OCD condition, and we did a home visit, and when I walked in the door I was blown away because there were goods stacked right to the roof, and there were only a series of tracks through the house, through the unit, and this was a person in their mid-20s. Now, I've seen many hundreds of similar conditions since, but frontline workers and emergency workers are well familiar with this kind of situation. So hoarding is not a new thing. It's just not been recognised as a separate clinical disorder.
And in terms of the socio-economic aspect, are you finding that it's more prevalent in lower socio-economic areas?
Well, it becomes more noticeable in that area because people may not be able to manage the amount of things they gather, but there's no... hoarding is in every leafy green suburb of Sydney and Melbourne, and across all occupations and age groups. And this is the frightening thing about it. It is much more prevalent than, for example, panic disorder, 5 times more prevalent than schizophrenia. It's a hidden giant. And so your question about it does show up when people in public housing may be threatened with eviction, but it does exist and brings about a lot of suffering, say for young children in a hoarding household, where they can never sit down and eat a meal together.
So where are you at in terms of getting this recognised as a clinical disorder, and how will something like that help people who suffer from this?
Well, the Bible of psychiatric disorders is called the DSM, and it's bringing out a 5th edition next year, and hoarding disorder has been recommended for the first time to be included in this manual. Now, this will be open up a whole lot of opportunity by way of training of workers, recognition of the condition in research grants, and it'll bring it to the notice of people. At the moment, shows like the hoarding shows on television are often voyeuristic. You just show how these people are living, but still it has enable people to realise that hoarding is very much part of our society.
Dr. Chris Mogan, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
That's fine, thank you.
You should come to my house. Talk about one big case study for him. Boxes and boxes of stuff.
I think you might be exaggerating slightly.
Oh, no. I've got old, books, which I'm one of many people who think you can't throw away a book. That's desecration. You just don't do it. Old T-shirts, 20 years old, threadbare, that I can't bear to throw away. Old airline tickets, this and that. So I'm up there. I'm a hoarder.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been listening to Chris, so I'm going to take his recommendations on board. But all jokes aside, it's a very, very serious issue. And I think that figure, 5% of the population, would surprise a lot of people about people having a compulsive hoarding problem. So,
And more prevalent than schizophrenia.
Indeed. So I'm the last to complain.